All right, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, however, whenever, wherever you may be watching. Welcome to the We Are Family Pittsburgh Sports Podcast, episode 38, and I know that for sure. We always don't know, but I know I'm on it today. I'm Pirate Peyton, joined as always by Jake Bell and Nathan Schivins. Nat, whatever you want to call him, and Jake Bell. We have some things to discuss. This is going to be mainly a baseball episode. NFL and a down period right now. July, around this time of year, it's like the least amount of volume as far as sports coverage is concerned. But there's always things to discuss and always things to debate. So, first of all, though, we have to get into our beloved Buccos. They're doing Bucco 2025 Pittsburgh Pirates type of things. We were talking about how great they were doing as Nate is devastated. We were talking about how great they were doing last episode. They ended up sweeping the St. Louis Cardinals, shutting them out 3 games in a row, which is something that hadn't been done, I don't know since when, but I know we didn't do that to the Cardinals since 1976, I believe. Shutting them out in 3 straight games. We were on a 6-game winning streak. Donnie was over 500 as manager. He was like 2 games over 500 at the time. And apparently he was in the mix for NL Manager of the Year. This is what some national reporters were saying.
For 2 days. He was in it for 2 days.
He was in the mix for NL Manager of the Year. And then everything went, as Nate would say, kaputs. Kaputs? Is that what you said earlier about your earbuds? Kaputs?
Yeah, I was caught off guard there. Kaputs. I don't really say that too much, but
kaputs.
Now I will say it all the time.
Word of the
That's
day.
A new term for me.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a Yinzer term. That sounds like a Yinzer word. Kaputs.
Yeah. The Pirates did a complete troll job, a complete 180. It's like they had that day off and they forgot the magic that whatever it was that they had in their bodies completely just left. They're the first team ever in the history of baseball to, in any order, shut out a team for 3 games and then get shut out in 3 games in a row. And, when the first game happened with, what's his name? I don't know who their pitcher was. But Seattle's pitching, they have some nasty guys over there. Some of them haven't had quite as the good years they have had in previous years. But this Brian Wu, who I believe is an all-star, has been unbelievable. He almost threw a no-hitter yesterday against the Yankees, and their bullpen blew that game. But that's another story. He dominated, and then it was like, oh shoot, we're facing Luis Castillo, who is always giving us problems. This could be really bad. Now we're in a slump. Now it's been 18 innings, we haven't scored a run. Are they really going to do this? Yes, they are. And of course, Paul Skenes, I don't know if he got the L. No, he didn't get the L because he had 5 innings, 10 strikeouts. Someone else gave up the run, but they lose 1-0 in back-to-back games. No runs in either game. And either of all of those 3 games against their solid pitching staff, which was pretty incredible. And then they go against the Royals. They scored some runs. They got blasted in game 1. Andrew Heaney was just awful. He's been one of the worst. We were talking about this. He's been one of the worst pitchers as far as his home ERA is excellent and his road ERA is terrible. Like, the difference there is one of the biggest in baseball. But game 2 and 3, another 1-run loss, two more 1-run losses. And that's been the story. I think the big thing I could say is, we know the offense stinks, but the big story has been that we can't win these close games. And that was, what did Derek Shelton say in the beginning of the year? We have to win within the margins. And this team, whether it's the bullpen, whether it's, although the bullpen has been better overall, but throughout the whole season, whether it's been the bullpen or not having timely hitting, not cashing in runs with runners in scoring position. They just have not won within the margins, and they're just not talented not to be able to afford that. So, I want to get your guys' thoughts on this incredible, just flip of the switch all of a sudden, and that the Pirates, 2025 Pirates, continue to make history.
I can go first if you want, Nate, unless you want to.
Yeah, go ahead, Jake.
All right, cool. Yeah, so the Mariners, that was going to be a tough series, at least definitely the first game. You're going from your homestand all the way to the other side of the country, adjusting to a time zone. So I felt the offense wasn't going to be like how it was that we saw in the homestand, at least in the first game. Maybe we expected them to pick it up more later on. It's just the one-run losses are kind of devastating, but what was more devastating, in my opinion, was the Royals series. I mean, you could look at the Mariners, their dominant starting pitching, and it's kind of funny because Luis Castillo was, like, people were rumoring him potentially getting traded, sort of like what Mitch Keller's having to face right now to maybe add a bat to that Seattle offense, because we know how much they struggled last year offensively as well. But either way, I think that the Royals is more devastating because, like, while the offense didn't perform like we saw in the homestand, that they at least had somewhat of life. I mean, other than the first game of that series, if I'm not mistaken, they had a very good shot to win that series because they were in both of those other games. I mean, it was you could have just forgot about that first loss and then take care of business the next two, but unfortunately they dropped those ones, both close games. So I think that was a little more devastating, especially. You know, the Royals, they're trying to compete for a playoff spot. Now you're going to the Twins, who are also trying to compete for a playoff spot, trying to avoid being sellers at the deadline, which is coming sooner than we really think. So, I mean, but honestly, though, I know it's a weird thing to say, but, like, I love that they went on that 6-game winning streak to have something positive, but say they win 9 of 10 during this whole stretch, or, sorry, they played 12 games. Say they win 10 of 12, something like that. Maybe there's some false hope. Maybe guys like Heaney and IKF, like I imagine they'll still get traded, but maybe the approach later on at the deadline becomes completely different. I think that the Pirates really need to operate more like their life depends on it. And I think that if Cherington realizes this, I think he's going to be very aggressive in the draft, getting college players. I think he's going to be very aggressive at the deadline. I think that the Pirates are better off doing that than having some false hope when, in reality, whenever you fire your manager 28 games into the season, 38 games into the season, more than likely it's going to be tough, even if Don Kelly finishes the season as the best manager in baseball. It's still a very tough thing to do, to climb your way up from 14 games under 500. So I think that, you know, you want to see more life from the bats, but at the end of the day, I think that just keep a steady pace, just play competitive baseball so at least you have something to build off, but don't have anything happen to change your mindset, because while, like, all three of us would say, hey, go with this buy-sell approach at the deadline, if you're the general manager of a team and you want to win, if you just go on this crazy stretch, you might just have a completely different thought process, especially a guy like Cherington who's fighting for his job right now. So I think this is probably, you want to see more competitive baseball, but I'd rather this happen than them go on this crazy run, like a 2018 run to trade for a Chris Archer. I'd rather this be the case than that be the case. So.
Yeah, that's a good point. Even if they would have won 10 of 12, which they could have, because, like I said, 4 of the 6 games were one-run games, and they lost all of them. Yeah, they would have had to do more than 10 of 12, I think, to really, but, like, yeah, we don't want a 2018 run, because we don't want to be doing crazy, crazy stuff. Like, we're all in this year. Something crazy would have had to happen, but I think another big story, and I want to go to Nate on this, about this Pirates team, which is really catching everyone's attention now, is how bad this team is on the road. I mean, you look at their home record, they're around 500. I don't know what the exact record is, but they're an average baseball team at home. And then they go on the road now this year, and they're like, I don't know. I remember when I was little, the 2010 Pirates. I mean, this was a really bad baseball team, but they could not win on the road. Like, this reminds me of this now. Like, the amount of games they're losing on the road. It's their road record, they have like twice the wins of the Rockies overall, but their road record is 10 times worse, or is just as bad as the Rockies right now. So I want to hear Nate's thoughts on that too. Like why is that? Why is it so bad?
Yeah, I mean, it almost is like the Pirates play at Coors Field or something. This feels like a Rockies season, like a bad Rockies team season, because they're 5 games over, I think, at home, which is pretty solid. I mean, if you're trying to make the playoffs, you try to go, if you want to be around 500, you go 5 over at home or so, 4 or 5 under, or try to get to 500 on the road. That's how you try to get to the playoffs. But yeah, they're absolutely. It was a bad road record going into this road trip. Were they 12-31? Now they're somehow just astronomically worse, and it is just crazy. The offense is horrible anywhere, but it's just non-existent on the road, and you just can't win games obviously when you don't score any runs. And when you score 0 runs in a series against the team. And the frustrating thing is, too, it's not like all 3 games were 6-0, 7-0, 8-0, whatever. The last 2 games were 1-0 shutouts where the Pirates had chances, and if you get the 3 runs they scored each game against Kansas City, you win 2 of those games, and the road trip looks a lot better, even though maybe the offense still would have the same issues. So I do think that it is just crazy how poor they are on the road. And it's something that, but again, I mean, when you go to a different environment, there's probably going to be a drop-off for any team, right? You're not as comfortable, just, the home, your home crowd, your routine, it's different and everything on the road. But just to be this different, to be this stark of a difference from home to road is kind of crazy. And Jake, to your point, you did make a good point about that, about how maybe some false hope. I love the false hope. Last year was the year of the false hope, where we were just hoping at the deadline that we could do something and maybe with that pitching sneak in. This year, the pitching is even better. I mean, it's been as good as, I think the pitching this year has been as good, probably better even than 2018 when
ERA-wise,
then when we had Trevor Williams' career year, Jamison Tyone career season, and we were just pitching really well and we were staying in these games. But this year, it's the best pitching probably since, other than that 2018, it's probably better than that since 2015. I'm not joking.
I agree.
That's like where we're at.
I 100% agree.
But this offense has been as bad as I've ever seen it, and just it's crazy to think about just me saying that, or us saying that, just coming off of this homestand, which was just an offensive explosion for any standards. Any team would take the amount of runs the Pirates scored in that homestand, but just 9 runs in 6 games so far, and the Twins, like you guys mentioned, they're fighting for a playoff spot as well. And I have no doubt Byron Buxton's going to hit like 3 homers, and we're gonna get swept or just lose that series. I can't see us winning that one either. And so you look, the weird thing about this one is the Kansas City one, which really stung. I agree, Jake. That was like the one that really stung because, the Royals' offense is just as bad as the Pirates' offense has been all season. As the Mariners have had their games where they've looked really good offensively, but the Royals, it was just so crazy. I don't know what happened, what got into them, but they just hit a bunch of home runs in their ball. They don't hit home runs at all.
Our pitching did not have a good series. Let's be honest about that Royals series.
Especially later in the game, yeah.
You'd think it would, considering how bad the Royals' offense is. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just it was just weird. You can't let Nick Lofton hit clutch hits off you at homers, and it was just crazy, the offensive outburst for the Royals. Caglione hit a bunch of homers. We know he could do that, but he just hasn't shown that at the major league level so far. That was a really hurt, and especially that Mitch Keller game. He pitched so well in that game, and it was so funny. Like Greg Brown on the broadcast right before the home run to Lofton was like, wow, this is the difference between Don Kelly and Derek Shelton. Don Kelly trusting his guys, trusting his gut, getting he didn't say every last outs, but it's kind of on similar sentiments.
The announcer's jinx was really real there.
As he was saying it, Nick Lofton hit the homer, and that was like it. And the Pirates get the bases loaded, and Reynolds almost grounds into the double play. You had to get multiple runs there because you knew they weren't going to build another, rally in the ninth inning or in extras. So that you kind of knew that was it. And then I just don't trust this team at all on the road in a tie game late. I just know that something's going to happen where they're going to lose a one-run game, and it seems like they've won a lot of one-run games at home, but on the road it seems like almost every one of them
they've lost way too many one-run games this year, and they had to win a majority of them to be successful. And that's the winning within the margins thing. Whether it's been poor defense, although the defense under Don Kelly has been actually tremendous in comparison to Derek Shelton, but overall, whether that's been poor defense, whether that's been late inning bullpen execution, whether that's been getting big hits with runners in scoring position, it just hasn't happened enough, and they're not talented enough to overcome all of that. So, Nate, I don't know if you had anything else to add.
Well, I was just going to say one final thing about the trade deadline as it relates to the Pirates. I just kind of went off on something else. I was going to talk about how, with the false hope, if they were to have won 10 of 12, I still don't think, I still think about with IKF and Andrew Heaney, I'm still of the mindset, like, even if you hold on to them, what you're going to get a mid to low level prospect in return for Andrew Heaney. IKF has a 660 OPS now. And he's kind of fallen off offensively back to kind of his career norms. So, and both are obvious rentals. So, what are you going to get really? I'm thinking the issue would be but I don't think Cherington either way would swing big. I still don't think this trade deadline he's going to go all in any direction. I think he might make some more aggressive moves than he has, but he hasn't made many aggressive moves in his tenure. So what does that even look like? So it will be interesting to see what they do. I think this year I'm more fascinated than any year as to what this team will do at the trade deadline, because the other years it was like for sure sell, except last year it was we're gonna buy, kind of, not really. Brian De La Cruz is that's like selling while you're buying. So, but I think there is going to be a buy-sell approach for the first time under Cherington, and it'll be interesting to see who moves and who doesn't, because I was talking to Jake earlier, there could be a lot of guys that they could trade. I mean, realistically, you talk about Caleb Ferguson, obviously, you talk about Heaney, you talk about, IKF, maybe Bednar, Santana, Keller, right, Frazier. It doesn't seem like he's going to go, but I think if he told the front office I want to trade, they would honor that. But I haven't been seeing people saying Hayes completely forget. He could be traded too. So there could be a bigger sell than in any year, just because the talent, the supposed talent on the team, especially pitching wise, it is improved. So, but I think there will still be a buy-sell approach. But there could be a lot of selling in terms of, but also buying to get some hopefully major league hitters, and yeah.
Yeah, that tells. I know this is we got about 3 weeks until this is going on, but until the trade deadline happens. But we will be having our trade deadline coverage like we did last year. Probably around 2 or 3 o'clock, because the deadline used to be at 4, but now it's at 6. So there'll be a lot happening within those hours. It is at 6, right? It's still at 6 now. I think they changed that back.
I can look it up.
They still have it at 6. But anyway, we will so we'll give out more details about that when the time comes closer. But definitely want to put that out there as well. I mean, this is people keep saying the Pirates are going to be doing a lot of selling and slash buying. So, but it is really selling because there's a lot of guys on the trade block. So, that'll be a fun time. It might be very frustrating, but it'll also be fun because we're all going to be together. So make sure you tune into that. I do want to move forward. I did want to say this to wrap up our Pirates thing, or Pirates segment. I was looking at the records. So the Pirates are actually 5 games over 500 at home. Because they were 20-21 at home, and then that 6-game win streak put them at 26-21. The entire NL Central is over 500 at home. And then the Pirates on the road are 12-35. The only records that are worse than that are the Rockies and the White Sox at 11-36. So imagine
That's
if they
right
would have
there.
won. If they win 8 more games on the road, I mean the Reds are 22-25. The Reds also have a 26-21 home record, and the Reds are 22-25 on the road. You know, if the Pirates were at 20 wins on the road, they're around 500 right now. So it's really an interesting thing. Like, is the road situation this year for the Pirates? Are they just not comfortable on the road? It's very weird. But we could also just say, you know, they're a bad baseball team who happens to play their worst baseball on the road. I mean, I think that's also just a concluding statement as well, a simple way to put it. But moving on to what's coming up in baseball, which is the All-Star Game and the Home Run Derby. But I want to talk about the All-Star Game and want to talk about what you guys are looking forward to. For me, you know, I think a lot of people have complained about how the MLB has tried to be all fancy and do a bunch of new things with as far as the uniforms are concerned. But now they're going back to everybody wears and I think this is a complaint from a lot of fans, and the MLB, to their credit, is listening to their fans. Every player gets to wear the jersey of their own team. And it's the games in Atlanta. So the NL, everyone will wear their white home uniforms, and the AL will wear their road uniforms of the teams that they play for. So I think that'll be a really cool kind of nostalgic feeling for a lot of fans. I think a lot of fans are going to like that and want to tune in because MLB made that change. And I know it seems like a small thing, but MLB is America's pastime, and that's always been kind of part of the pastime. It's kind of been a tradition, and people really like tradition. The other interesting thing is they are bringing in the ABS system. They're going to have the ABS challenge system, so Paul Skenes, if he throws a strike that's called a ball, he can tap his head or whatever, and get that challenged if he wants. I don't know how. I think there's a certain amount of challenges each team gets. I'm not sure what the deal is there, but I want to hear your thoughts. What you guys are looking forward to with this All-Star Game, and Paul Skenes hopefully starting. I don't know.
Yeah, I think I'm very excited to see the challenging ball strike system. I went to a Buffalo game, a AAA game, and they had that going on, and I thought it was pretty cool. I forget what the regulations were for that. I think you start with maybe 3 challenges, and then you can only lose like twice. I don't know, something like, I don't know if that's exactly it. I could be completely wrong about that, but I think it would be cool to see it happen at the major league level. I think that would be a lot of fun. But what else I'm more excited to see are all these like younger guys getting to be all-stars. I mean, we're seeing like Jacob Wilson, we're seeing Riley Green is an all-star if I'm not mistaken, right? Like guys like that.
Oh, he's starting. He's starting.
Yeah, exactly. Like, sorry, I haven't really looked too much, but I figured he was from what I've seen on Instagram. But yeah, no, it would be exciting to see some of these young stars. I'm very glad that Javi Baez is in. It's kind of cool because like whenever Javi Baez was struggling and the Tigers were struggling, it was like, oh, this horrible contract. And now he's good, the Tigers are good, and it's pretty cool. It's like a complete 180, and it just shows you like just like the commitment of a player who's saying, hey, I'm getting paid this much from this organization. I should at least try to honor it. I mean, he could have just said, hey, I'm not going to change anything. I'm getting paid. I'm set for life. Who cares? But he's really contributing to this really good Tigers team. So I think that's a cool thing. I'm glad that he's getting recognized for that. And I'm just excited to see these young guys play. It's not that the typical All-Star game where it's like a bunch of guys from 27 to 32 years old battling it out. Like, we're seeing some young stars in this game. And I think that's a lot of what the voting kind of catered towards, because like I don't know, you get more excited for the future looking at these guys performing so well. So I think it's cool. I'm excited to see the young guys play. So
You love to see the youth movement. You love to see a new generation of stars. The younger the stars, the longer the game is going to be interesting to a lot of different people.
Absolutely, yeah. I'm also excited for that. Excited for the ABS. I think all of us have kind of wished it were here this year. There's a lot of, Peyton, you talk about tradition. There's a lot of old timers who still, love the game of baseball, who I think have a wrong perception of what the ABS system is. It's literally just a challenge. It's saying the umps get it right a lot more often than they get it wrong, but from time to time they get it wrong during the game. So you don't think that was a good call, just tap the head. It's not disrespect. It's just saying I didn't think that was a strike, or that should have been a strike or whatever. And then you can see what it is. I think it's great for the game of baseball. It's not getting rid of umpires. It's not complete robot umps. It's just, and it's not something that you're going to see often in a game.
And it's a quick thing too. It doesn't delay the game.
Yeah,
it's a very.
And it's an 5 to 8
Umpires
second
still
thing.
make 80 to 90% of the calls. I mean, they
A lot of
still
them
make
more
the
than that.
calls. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So this isn't, but it is funny. Like, you talk about Manfred kind of in the past couple of years being more kind of progressive in adapting to the changing times of baseball and the landscape and who's watching, and that's kind of a lot of the older generation of baseball fans kind of irked them a little bit, right? There was a lot of hesitancy towards the pitch clock and the runner on second base, and now the pitch clock especially, everybody really loves it. It's like, oh my gosh, this is a different game now. It's a lot easier to watch. It's cutting off 45 minutes of baseball that just enhances the product on the field. So I think this is going to be a similar thing, but I think this would be the greatest success out of all the new changes, because I just think it's a no-brainer, and I think it'll improve the accuracy of games. You also can't say like something with the Henry Davis against the Padres thing. That won't be happening. You won't see that happening, and so fans won't be able to complain
Unless you
about
run out of
the umps
challenges.
nearly at all. Unless
true.
you run out of challenge. Well, that's on. But then you say that's on the team for saying dumb stuff too. So it's not even. So fans can't. So it'll be good for the umps too. Like, they won't get as much criticism now because they won't be the ones making maybe a wrong call in a big moment and have that be the big takeaway from the game and kind of the negative with that game, or maybe it should have went down differently. So I think that's a great run. I really love the teams going back to their individual team jerseys for the All-Star game. Peyton, nostalgia was just what I was thinking when you were mentioning that, because that's what it is. I remember just growing up early when I was a little kid watching the Pirates when they had a good amount of All-Stars at the games, and really all the teams. I remember those Rockies teams offensively. You'd see all those Rockies players and Dodgers and just all the teams. It's just really cool, and it just brings back the memories of. And it's easier for fans too, like when you're all wearing the same uniform and you just got the little patch that says Pirates or Orioles or something.
You don't know who's from where.
You don't know who's from where really, unless you actually zoom in. But then especially if you're just a casual fan and you're just tuning in, I think casuals now, when you tune in to this game, like, oh, that's a Rockies player. Oh, I know that guy. That's whoever, Gunnar Henderson. I don't even think he made the All-Star game, but whoever. So I think this is just Rob Manfred. I think there's been a change with him and with Major League Baseball as a whole, just a pivot that I think is really enhancing the game, and I think it's baseball's taking a lot of good steps right now, is in a good direction, and I agree completely about the young players. I think that's going to be awesome as well. Just a lot of young players, but also it seems like a lot more getting in this year because there's a lot of injuries and players saying, hey, like Jose Ramirez, I completely respect him saying, hey, Guardians, we're not playing that well. I'm going to rest up and then get ready for the stretch run because they're going to need every bit of him, everything and more from him.
And he's been struggling a bit lately.
Oh yeah, a little bit, but it's hard. It's hard having that whole offense on your shoulders every year if you're Ramirez.
Yeah.
So, but I think overall it's going to be a lot of fun, and we'll get to the home run derby too. I think there's a lot of young players in the home run derby as well, and I think that'll really enhance kind of more casual viewers or new baseball viewers seeing kind of the next generation of players because you got Junior Caminero, you got Brent Rooker, you got some of these guys who are really good players, all-star caliber players who are in. Now there are some, Oneil Cruz isn't an all-star, and some of these guys aren't necessarily all-stars, but they're young guys that could grow into some really good players and kind of the future stars of the game.
So, Nate, transitioning to the home run derby, as you kind of already did that for me. Oneil Cruz in the home run derby. Gotta get your reactions to this. My reaction may be a little different than many Pirates fans. I think there's been a little debate online about how people should be reacting to this. I do think that this now some people were saying this home run derby has no star power at all. You have Ronald Acuna Jr., who has come back and just taken the league by storm once again. He's a superstar. He started the All-Star game, and I know he hasn't played many games, but he has been unbelievable since he's returned. You have him, and he's been competing in home run derbies before. And what Jake and Nate were talking about, this youth movement. James Wood, Junior Caminero, right? Guys who haven't got the recognition they deserve are gonna get in the limelight this year. There aren't the typical guys like Cal Raleigh. He's not on a national brand. He's in Seattle, so he's gonna get the attention he deserves because he is a rightful MVP candidate this year. I mean, he's put that entire team on his back offensively, and I mean he's a good defensive catcher too, and he's catching a great pitching staff. So I puts a lot of guys in the limelight who are new stars in the game. You're not going to see the typical guys you normally see, like Pete Alonso, Aaron Judge, Ohtani. I don't know who else has been in it. Bryce Harper. Like, everyone knows who those guys are. And maybe people won't be as tuned in because of that, but I think for the true baseball fans and people who want to know more about the game, they're going to see a lot of young stars and a lot of guys who should be getting more attention. One of those guys being, now he's not as young, but Brent Rooker. I mean, he's going to have as long as he stays healthy, he's going to have another 30 or 40 home run season for the third consecutive year. One of the most underrated players, in my opinion, hitters in Major League Baseball. I know I'm going to be rooting for him, pretty much, for the most part. And I'm very much looking forward to that. And James Wood, who I think really, truly is the next superstar, the next great superstar hitter and just player in this league. As far as Oneil Cruz is concerned, look, I hate to be this way, but look, this is just how I feel as a fan. I'm not jumping up and down for it. I'm not. I'm excited. It's going to be fun to watch. The guy, he has great batting practices, okay? And I understand that. I'm not like saying, oh, he shouldn't be in it. Like, but, okay, I'm not gonna be like, oh my gosh, Oneil Cruz, he deserves this so much, and I'm just so over ecstatic that he's in it. I mean, the guy is hitting 210. He's struck out 100 and whatever times, the most in baseball. I'm just not excited about a guy who hasn't lived up to the hype. And I think people mistakenly put him in the young stars category, and he hasn't proven that. Now, is he good for this competition? Absolutely. But am I like, wow, like, I'm really excited to see him. I really feel like he deserves this, and as a Pirates fan, I'm very, very happy about it. Like, I don't care because I haven't seen the results on the field. When Josh Bell and McCutchen did it, to me, it was more exciting because those guys were carrying their teams at that respective time. So I have mixed feelings about it, and I may be an a-hole for that, but look, I don't care. Okay, that's just how I feel, and I'd rather have Oneil Cruz, to be quite honest with you, taking the time off and reflecting on his performance, but instead he's out here competing for $1 million, and I know that sounds a little, I don't know what the word is for it, but that's just kind of how I feel with watching this guy hit. I mean, he's just up there waving, and his swing is just not where it needs to be, and his approach overall. I mean, he swings at terrible pitches when he's down in the count, but they'll take strike one down the middle, and it's just stuff like that I'm more concerned about, and I'm just not as hyped about him being in the home run derby. I'm more excited for Brent Rooker, who is one of my favorite players in baseball. But I want to hear your guys' thoughts on the home run derby. I've said my piece. Overall, the overall field and Oneil Cruz.
Yeah, I think it's going to be pretty cool. I mean, a lot of these guys, I'm sure, would love to have Judge and Ohtani in it, but obviously they're going to say no, especially at this point in their career. So it's very hard for the MLB to get some of the best stars in the MLB to be in the home run derby. I'm kind of shocked that Ronald Acuna said yes, if I'm being honest, just because, not that he would get hurt at the home run derby, but we know his injury history. He might not want to be doing too much or get into some sort of funk while he's having a great season. But anyway, yeah, I mean, I don't have a problem with Cruz. Obviously, if you look statistically, like you mentioned, his stats don't pop out and you say, wow, home run derby, like if you look at his home run numbers. But he has the best exit velocity in MLB history. So that's something that the MLB definitely put in consideration. And I think that they would probably rather have him than someone who has maybe slightly more home runs than him, but maybe not have that technical home run pop or, I guess, home run ceiling that Cruz does have whenever he is at his best. So as for Cruz, I don't have a problem. Like, obviously you want him to work on getting better as a player during the season, but at the end of the day, if he's able to get $1 million, I mean, that's life-changing money for an MLB player at his point in his career where he's still not through arbitration yet, where he's still not making all that money. I mean, if you could win $1 million, like, I understand why he's willing to do that. Again, you want him to, focus on working hard and trying to really turn this season around, but at the end of the day, I can't really fault him too much in doing this.
No, I'm not faulting.
Right.
I'm not faulting him. I'm
Exactly.
just saying the whole idea of it is just like, it doesn't get me that excited when
Right.
he's not, and we see the lack of effort and the lack of hustle a lot of the time. And the
No,
lack
I
of
get that for
focus.
sure. Yeah, I completely understand what you're saying. Yeah, it's kind of like it's a weird situation, especially with him not being an all-star. But I do think I think this is a good thing for the MLB. I think a lot of these guys coming in, these young guys, are good for the MLB. I mean, James Wood, like you mentioned, I think he's a superstar. He's someone that a lot of MLB teams wish they would have drafted since he was a late second-round pick. He's probably a guy that a lot of teams were trying to get for some of their better players on the trade market during the trade deadline, and he ended up just being in that Soto trade, which, I mean, makes sense. I mean, a guy like him is definitely makes sense why the Padres weren't going to give him up unless they were getting a guy like Juan Soto. So, yeah, it would be an interesting home run derby. I'm excited for it. I'm excited to see these young guys play. Like, I'm excited for the All-Star game with these young guys playing. And, I don't know, it'll be cool. It's cool with Kyle Raleigh, too. I hope that even with the home run derby, he's still able to have that home run pop which we know he does, but like on a consistent level to end the year, because it would be really cool for a catcher to hit 50 homers while playing great defense. I think that's an awesome thing, because we look at Mike Piazza and he is the best offensive catcher in the MLB's history, arguably, but we all know that his defense wasn't a Johnny Bench who could kind of do both. So it would be interesting to see what this home run derby has in store for us. So.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm very excited for. I honestly, with Oneil Cruz being in it, I don't see any drawbacks whatsoever. You know, like I saw that and I was genuinely excited because and like it's the home run. It's not the All-Star game he's playing. It's the home run there. I don't care if he's not an All-Star or whatever. The MLB, I think the MLB looks at it from their perspective, and having a guy like Oneil Cruz in it, it's an absolute win for them. And, you know, I'm excited. I like the A's. I'm excited for Brent Rooker to go in there and hit some homers and everything. But, come on, we're talking about Oneil Cruz here. And I think he's going to – now, the question is he going to be able to sustain his power, because he has that long swing, as he can get tired out, you know, more quickly. But I'm going to be excited to see him just mash homers, hit him 118 miles an hour. I think he brings a certain skill set to the home run derby that we honestly haven't seen too much of. We've seen some like pure home run hitters, but not these pure like exit velocity savants. Like since Giancarlo Stanton was in it several years ago. So I mean, I don't see any I not only don't see any drawbacks. When I saw this, I was ecstatic, not because he taking into account his 210 average or his 115 strikeouts or anything like that, just purely from an entertainment standpoint. I think this is a competition that uniquely suits him and that he could uniquely be really good at if that long swing doesn't get him tired out more quickly. I think I'm ecstatic about it, and you know, people are saying these things like, with the home run derby, you either your swing improves or it deteriorates. I mean, he's hitting 210.
He can't get worse. He can't get worse in the.
Yeah,
so.
I don't see this like impacting him, because he swings for the fences regardless. Yeah, so
he can't
it's not
get
gonna
worse.
it's not gonna be any different. So, you know, I don't have any of your kind of complaints, Peyton. I'm very excited for it. I'm excited for the whole derby. And I think, yeah, Ronald Acuna doing it, I forgot about that. That'll be cool. Jazz Chisholm, a similar guy with that flair, is going to be participating as well. So I think this is going to be, because we've seen kind of the last few years, we've seen the Pete Alonso home run derbies and everything. We've seen some guys who are more home run hitters, but maybe don't have that pizzazz, you know, that aura, if you will. And I think some of these guys have some are really neat and, you know, hit the ball hard. I think Jazz Chisholm has a lot of swag. Ronald Acuna certainly does. Oneil Cruz certainly does. Some of these guys, they love having fun and enjoying the game. I can see Peyton is very
I'm more interested in getting hits
sentiment.
Than
And it's a home run derby. It's the home run derby. There's no hits.
I understand that. I'm just annoyed.
You're just trying to ruin the home run derby.
I'm annoyed with Oneil Cruz. I'm annoyed with him. Okay? I'm annoyed with his performance. I understand that, and rightfully so. And I understand that Pirate fans are excited, and they should be. And I'm not saying that there's drawbacks with him being in it specifically. I'm just saying, you know, I'm not like overjoyed about it. I'm just not when his performance isn't there on the field. That's all I'm saying.
You're saying he shouldn't be rewarded for what he's done so far, I assume, is what you mean by that.
I could, yes. And I'm not, but I'm not gonna say, I'm not saying though that, oh, it's terrible that he's in it. Like, I'm okay. I feel very neutral about it. I just don't feel, if he was doing what he was supposed to do, I would be much more excited. That's all I'm saying.
Well,
and if he wins the home run derby, I don't want this going to his head. Buddy, you're hitting 210, and you stink. He stinks right now. I have to be honest.
Not going to go to his head. No, if we had a lineup of Oneil Cruzes, we'd be in a lot better spot than we are right now. He is just OPS
Woodley.
wise, I mean,
With
I'll
that
take
many
7.
strikeouts? With that many
Hey,
strikeouts?
if up and down the order we're hitting 16 homers at each position, I mean, I saw that, like, people are saying that, like, he's still literally our, like, third best hitter. He's had, like, a terrible,
technically,
he's had a terrible, like, season for his standards. So I think you're just, I mean, I don't know, like, you can't be thinking
being
about
a
that
hater.
for the home run derby. You kind of are, you know.
Well,
just
take
have
it as
fun
you
and
will.
watch
That's
it.
just how I feel about it.
Watch it on Monday night and enjoy the festivities. Enjoy some big homers, some homers into the chop house in left field by Oneil, by some of these other guys. I think it's going to be a great competition. So I don't want that negative negative energy from you. You shouldn't have that negative.
I'll be rooting for him. I'm just.
I don't think you are, because you don't want him to win because it'll go to his head. He just so I don't
He's
think
not
you are
gonna
going to be
win.
rooting.
He's not. Everyone thinks because he hits the ball far and his exit. He's not gonna win. I'm
Who's going to
willing
win?
to make it
Who do you guys
interesting.
think is going to win, actually?
Wouldn't it be cool if him and James Wood kind of are the finalists? These 6'7" big guys are just that would be. I think
James
that'd be
Wood-
fun if
I think
they are
James
the
Wood
finalists.
could have a good derby. I think Ronald Acuna, I think, is going to do well. I think it's a lot of guys that are going to do pretty well.
We forget about
honestly.
Kyle Raleigh too.
Yeah, obviously Cal Raleigh can't. I mean, he's leading the league in homers, so a lot of good candidates. I think it's very up in the air as to who could win this. I think Oneil Cruz has a chance. I think everybody has a chance. I think it's a good field. Like, some years it's like, eh. Like, I never thought Josh Bell could win the home run. Like, he's not, like, his swing, I never, like, liked his swing as, like, a home run derby kind of swing. But some of the guys you see
he
do
doesn't
it.
have a home run derby.
Yeah, like some of these guys
he
you
was
see,
terrible.
like,
Let's be honest. Yeah.
yeah, some guys aren't built for it. You know, it's as much about having that power as it is durability during the event. So it will be. I think it'll be a fun derby. I think it's anybody's guess who's going to win. I think Oneil Cruz has a good chance. Again, it's just
He'll be
his
just
swing
like the
gonna
rest
tire
of
him out?
Pittsburgh. First round exit. First round.
We don't even make the first round. We can't even get to the first round of anything.
Just like the Steelers.
The Pirates,
though.
the Steelers. Yeah, the Steelers. We love first round exits.
I like Brent and I like Cal, and I think James Wood, though, he's a younger guy, but I think James Wood, though, will have a chance too. I really do. And Ronald, those four guys, like, to me, like, are the front runners. Chisholm, Cruz, I don't know. I don't think they're gonna sustain it. It'll be a fun watch. I might be putting some bets down on this derby. I have some strong opinions regarding
we can tell you got
Cruz.
You got some very strong
Cruz
opinions
and my buddy
about
Brent
it.
Rooker, and yeah. So, all right. Well, we'll move off of that. I want to pivot. We weren't planning on talking about this, but we were talking about James Wood, and this was big news in the baseball world, and we didn't really talk about it prior to this. But the Nationals, I mean, they've been very bad, but they have a lot of young, interesting pieces. We kind of knew that they weren't going to be good enough this year. And they honestly are worse than they were last year. But they still have these young pieces. You see James Wood improving, C.J. Abrams, Mackenzie Gore, all three of those guys from the Juan Soto trade, getting better, doing their thing, right? And you have that in place. Now, I can understand firing Davey Martinez. He's been here for a while. Him and Shelton are buds. That's kind of negative aura. Speaking of aura, I can understand moving off of Davey Martinez. But firing Mike Rizzo, who, at least from my perspective, I've considered one of the top 5, top 10 GMs in baseball for a very long time. And for him to do what he did with that Juan Soto deal, he has the young core in place. I mean, this is a big rebuild. I mean, they had to really start over after that 2019 World Series. Well, actually, they tried to compete like the year after that. So really, like since 2021, they've been really trying. About the same time, the Pirates, maybe a little longer actually, or a little shorter. Um, but Mike Rizzo, I've always considered one to be the best GMs, and I don't understand moving off of him because he's been one of those guys who's always kind of gone with his gut. And now they got this interim GM, and he looks like the typical analytical nerd GM. And of course, he's the interim. But Mike Rizzo, if I was running the Pirates, I'd be firing Sherrington and giving him a call right now to come be the GM of the Pirates. I mean, I just think it's very interesting that Mike Rizzo got canned. And I also think another thing that is interesting is this ownership group. I think that they're kind of not a good ownership group, and I think they've been actually looking to sell. And I think that's going to need to happen pretty soon, or the Nationals, despite some of the talent they have, are going to be in a bad situation.
Yeah, that's... I was kind of shocked whenever I saw that too. The only reasoning I can think of firing both of them is that maybe the Nationals thought that they should have a better record. Like, they should have made that significant jump forward because, just how many years they've been in this rebuild. But I guess technically 2021 they really started trading pieces because that's whenever Scherzer got traded, Turner got traded. Because I remember going into the season, they acquired Josh Bell, they acquired Kyle Schwarber, kind of seeing what they had because 2020, no one knew, like, you can't really make your basis off that. So it made sense why, hey, we just won a World Series in 2020, or in 2019. Obviously, 2020, we didn't make the playoffs, but who knows? Let's give it a shot in 2021. And that ultimately didn't work out. So I get that's whenever they really started the rebuild. That trade deadline, I should say. So maybe they thought that they should be making this significant jump forward. There's still a long season left. I don't really know if you could have made that basis just yet. I mean, Mike Rizzo could have just held on to Juan Soto given his age and then just lost him in free agency. And that would have been a lot worse than not having James Wood, not having C.J. Abrams, not having Mackenzie Gore, the three best players on your team right now. I mean, it's just kind of like a tough spot he was in. And he went, like you said, with his gut, traded Juan Soto for a haul that everyone's been good except we have to see with Robert Hassel still. We have to see with... I forget his name, Jarlin Susana or whatever, whoever they got, and he's actually like a top 3 prospect in their system right now. So it's definitely a tough situation for the Nationals, who you thought was going to take that next step forward. But I don't think firing Rizzo was the move they should have made. And like you mentioned, David Martinez, I think you could have went back and forth with that, but he's still a World Series winning manager. It's not like firing Clint Hurdle, who I get brought you to that playoff spot, but it wasn't like he won a World Series for your team where you can maybe be a little bit more lenient. They fired him, I thought, at the right time that they should have, when you had that collapse. But for the Nationals, I think it's kind of too soon to do that. And it's just, getting a good GM is such a valuable thing to have when they have that pedigree as Mike Rizzo, who's been there for so many years, have seen so many different eras of baseball, and has been able to adapt with that. That's just not something you see. Usually you see a GM who knows what worked well for them, and they stick to that, and they don't make many changes, and it's kind of like what we saw with Neil Huntington, where he was stuck in the Pirates playoff window. He didn't want to escape that, and he kind of made his basis off that. And you saw a lot of those teams that were similar to that team, but now you're in a completely different era of baseball, but that maybe they can't be as competitive, and maybe a certain philosophy can't be competitive. Mike Rizzo's been able to make those adaptations. The player development is something that a lot of teams would kill for offensively. And you can maybe look at the case of some of these other guys on the roster. Well, let's be honest about those guys. It's not like you can develop every single player and make them all-stars on your team. Like, there's only a certain degree that you can take that. And it'll be interesting to see what the Nationals kind of approach is moving forward, but I hope that they focus on player development. I hope that they don't grab a GM who's kind of just one size fits all with their approach, hiring guys that are one size fits all, and it kind of works as a disaster because, I think we could all agree that we would love to have some of the guys that the Nationals have offensively. Maybe, hey, let's just take the Nationals offense. I think we take that, right? So.
Yeah, no, not really surprised about the Davey Martinez thing. That was kind of festering for a bit there. There was some comments he made. Just it didn't seem like the clubhouse was fully behind him, and that's kind of what happens. You don't usually see it's a rarity when you see managers or head coaches or whatnot being with the team for so long, being with the franchise for as long as even Davey Martinez has been with the Nationals. It's been what, 7 years at least? When was he first?
He was with the team since like mid 2000s, but he became a GM, I think, like you said, 7 years ago or something like that.
Yeah, so for Martinez, and he had that comment about the man. What did he say? Like the manager has no like bearing on winning or whatever. So I mean, it was like, yeah, this is gonna boil over. But as for Rizzo, this was clearly an ownership move because, like you said, Peyton, I don't think their owners are very good. They haven't spent very much money really at all. They weren't willing to pay Juan Soto what he was due. Now it wasn't even $700 million at the time. It was still a lot. It was probably I think it was in the 500s.
It was $400 million.
Yeah, I remember
400
400
million.
Yeah.
But they weren't willing to do that, and we know he's one of the better hitters in baseball, and it should be an all-star this year, no matter what he says and comments about it. But they haven't really paid anybody. They paid Patrick Corbin, and that was kind of a disaster. Although people say it was a disaster, but he was a big part of their World Series.
Like if you win a World Series and you're a significant part of that, you sign a player for the short term, even if you sign them long term, because you sign a player to win a World. Like it doesn't make sense why people think that's a bad contract. If you're the Pirates and you sign Patrick Corbin and all that money, you win a World Series. I don't care what he does the rest of his career. You win a World Series on a team that needs one. Like, come on now.
Yeah, I mean he's literally even with like the numbers he'd put up after, he'd be a hero. He'd be one because he was such a big performer during that World Series year as well, and he was a reliable innings eater at the very least throughout. I mean he never got hurt, so but they gave him a bunch of money. You could say is looking back on it, just performance based, it wasn't the greatest, but obviously like we said, he won a World Series, but. And just the lack of spending, and like, I would just say, like, what did you expect? Where did you expect the Nationals to be this year? We looked at their pitching going into the year. We knew their offense could be really good. It has been really solid, and we know the names. And that Juan Soto trade obviously has worked out very well for Washington. But you look at the names on the pitching staff conversely, and it's Mackenzie Gore, who's been excellent, and it's it's Trevor Williams in 2025, right? It's actually Mike Soroka's actually done a pretty nice job as kind of a bounce back season, but their bullpen's a disaster. They have just no really. I mean, they have that Jose for me, and they have some like random guys, and they're just not good. So and they didn't do much at all in the off season. So they improved in the areas I thought they would improve, which is offensively, and they didn't get better pitching because they didn't do anything in the off season to address that. So I don't understand it. I think it was one of those classic moves we see of kind of bad ownership where you didn't make. I'm assuming here that they didn't want to spend too much in the off season. That's to me why Mike Rizzo and that front office didn't really do too much. It's that classic kind of situation where the owner doesn't really want to pay too much money. And then the struggles, the owners don't want to take the blame for those struggles, so they place the blame on somebody else, and who probably doesn't deserve it. So, yeah, if Ben Charity gets fired, I think Mike Rizzo is a very ideal candidate to be GM of the Pirates. But Ben Charrington's still employed, so we have yet to see Ben Charrington not be fired. So that's not even a question. I mean. Who's to say he won't be the GM going into next year, honestly, which we've talked about. It's very sad to think about, but we haven't been given an indication that he's going to be fired. I mean, we easily could have done what the Nationals did, and we're in a much worse situation right now than they are because they're actually rebuilding still. We are in year 6 of something, and we're where we're at. So we should, if anybody should be firing the GM and the manager, it should be us, and we talked about that. Why wasn't Charrington fired? We've talked about it at length. So, yeah, I mean, I just think it's the result of kind of bad ownership. But you gotta give him credit for actually they just want a clean house. But yeah, this new like interim GM, I was watching him in St. Louis. They were playing in St. Louis. He is quite the nerd. He was saying a lot of Saber analytics stuff. He
basically said that we need to be more analytical. Mike Rizzo wasn't analytical enough.
We have to put
but you have to mix
analytics
the
at the
two together.
forefront.
That's what could have made it work.
Well, it's not. I mean, you don't have to use analytics to see that they have bad pitchers. Like they could have, like these. Like I just don't. I don't want to hear everybody's like, oh, we need to go analytical, as an excuse for why. Like there's a lot of is Brian Cashman analytical? I think he just is a great
Brian
GM.
Cashman has been watching baseball for 30 years, 35. I mean, he's been in management. I mean, this guy. We know him very well, very close.
I mean, look how young he looks. Like whenever we bring him onto our podcast, I mean, he hasn't aged a bit. Like,
no,
yeah, I mean, you think he uses sabermetrics? I think he just sees what's going on and he makes the moves. That's what it is. So, I get annoyed when people are like we have to put analytics at the forefront. Can you put baseball at the forefront? Could you put actually getting players at the forefront?
Like I get analytics when you look at maybe relievers that you could see maybe performing better in but for hitters maybe you use what BABIP or stuff like that maybe, but that can't be the end all be all. At the end of the day, you need to sit down with a person, realize their intentions. Do they want to win? Do they want money? You have to. There's some things in the player's mind that the analytics can't tell you. So.
All right, fellas. I'm glad we talked about that. I do want to move on. Going back to the All-Star game, and this isn't really All-Star game relate. Well, it is and it isn't. I mean, I think the big debate right now for the National League. Who starts the All-Star game, Paul Skenes or Zach Wheeler? And going beyond that argument is, who's the Cy Young frontrunner, Paul Skenes or Zach Wheeler? Because both of them have been dominant in different ways. Now, one, obviously, is being very impactful for a championship contending team. And one has 9 wins and a lot more strikeouts. But, in a lot of other numbers, Paul Skenes is much better. You look at WHIP, ERA, stuff like that. He's a better pitcher. So, I want to ask you guys, if you were voting now, you got to take off the Pirates' glasses, the fan blindfolds, the fan whatever you want to call it. Throw those out. Who is your Cy Young frontrunner right now?
This is so tough because, other than wins and strikeout rate, Skenes has been the better pitcher statistically than Wheeler. But how are we, it's tough. It depends how you're voting, right? Are you saying, hey, I'm looking at the numbers, who's the best overall, has the best overall numbers? Or are you saying who is more impactful for your team? It's kind of like if you're voting for MVP. It's tough, because obviously Wheeler is going to be more impactful whenever he starts game 1 in the divisional series against the Dodgers, whatever. I don't know. That's probably not what's going to happen, but who knows? Just a scenario. He's going to bring more impact. That even though, again, Paul Skenes, there's nothing he can do. There's nothing he can do with the other 4 games in a 5-game stretch that the Pirates play. There's nothing he can do about it. But Wheeler, if he goes into the playoffs, has a 1.5 ERA in the entire playoffs, how do you not give him the Cy Young, even if Skenes does better during the regular season? Now, I know that the Cy Young is a regular season award. I get that. But to me, it's just how you're voting. If I'm voting for the best player, I think it's Paul Skenes. I think there's a debate, but I think statistically it has been Skenes. But if you look at, if you're going by the teams winning, how good's this pitcher been? Wheeler is the best team, or is the best pitcher by far on a playoff team in the National League. I don't think that's a question. So that's just how I go about it. If I'm voting regular season, I'm voting Skenes. If I'm voting what this guy can do beyond that, I'm voting Wheeler. So.
Yeah, that's another great kind of debate here. Has Wheeler? I don't think Wheeler's ever won the Cy Young, correct?
Nope.
He's been close. I think he was third one time.
But he hasn't been the top pitcher in the league since his low to mid 30s anyway. So it's kind of cool to see
He's
him.
very. People forget, like, because he's just so good. He is old. Like,
Yeah.
he is not young anymore.
Well, he said.
Like,
Yeah,
he
like
said
people were saying
that-
he's a guaranteed Hall of Famer. Unfortunately, that's not the case. But like, I'm glad that he's doing very well right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think his contract runs out in 27 or 28, and he said he's going to retire after, like, he's done after his contract's up. So, but part of me, just like even with my Pirate fandom, I like Zach Wheeler. Every time I do fantasy baseball, I draft him. I love this guy. He does a great job, and I love how he goes about the game of baseball. And he's just been tremendous. He's been the anchor of that excellent Phillies rotation for several years now. That was I remember at the time thinking that was just a great contract by the Phillies to signing him from New York, the Mets. And he's just been everything they could ask for. He just goes about his business. He's nasty. And I love Paul Skenes, obviously we all do. And if he wins the Cy Young, I won't be like upset or anything, obviously. But a part of me does want Zach Wheeler to win it, not even just if the numbers are even comparable, just because I think he deserves one. I think Skenes is destined for, if he just continues like we think he will, for multiple Cy Young awards in whatever league he may be in going forward. But I think Wheeler, this year, next year, who knows, he could be kind of closer to the end of the line. And I would think it would be cool to see him win. And I think the voters will take into account, they shouldn't, but I think they will take into account win-loss. I think they will take into account how good the team is. And even though wins-losses has become every year a more and more irrelevant statistic, as it should, it really doesn't reflect anything other than can your team actually hit? Do you have a good offense that can... Because, I mean, Skenes is losing to some pitchers that are not very good. In 7 losses, there's not 7 pitchers in any instance better than him. And so he shouldn't have these 7 losses. It's entirely because the Pirates can't hit. So I don't think that should be a detractor, but it doesn't look great when you lead with Skenes has a 4-7 record, right? They always lead with that in the stats line of a pitcher. So I do think if it stays kind of like this to the end of the season, I think they would give the nod to Wheeler, and I wouldn't be completely against it unless their rationale is, well, he has a better win-loss and his team's better, right? I think especially the win-loss. Like if they say he's just won a lot more games.
Because when did they care about that? Whenever Jacob deGrom went back-to-back,
Right. Speaking of Jacob DeGrom, I think we got to mention that he's been tremendous this year with less strikeouts. I mean, he hasn't had nearly as many strikeouts. Obviously, he's dealt with so many injuries in his career. He's like Wheeler. He's kind of a big what if in terms of his whole, because he has to stack several more seasons because he's old too. He's like 36, I think. He's older as well. He'd have to stack several really good seasons still to be kind of Hall of Fame candidate because he just has been hurt. But when he's been healthy, at any point, he's been the best pitcher in baseball as well. So, it'll be very interesting. I hope Paul Skenes wins, but if Zach Wheeler wins, I would be happy for him as well because he's a consummate professional. He goes about the game the right way. He doesn't say anything. He doesn't really get recognized like Paul Skenes or a Jacob Mizorowski now, or Chase Burns, even like some of these guys upcoming, and even some of the better pitchers in baseball. So I think his recognition for him would be well deserved as well.
I will say that Jake brought this up, and Nate, you were kind of going towards this direction. Looking at the playoff, how a guy does in the playoffs, like I understand it's supposed to be a regular season award. This is something that's talked about for all awards in all sports, like MVP, all that stuff. But it's hard as a voter to ignore how someone performs in the postseason.
I agree.
Human nature.
If I was a voter, right? So I think that could, even though it shouldn't, that could have a big impact on what happens. If the Phillies go on and win the World Series, and Zach Wheeler is a big part of that, I think that gives him a big plus. Even if it shouldn't, I think it does. Now, one other thing you guys didn't mention, I think what Paul Skenes has going, or Nate actually did kind of mention this at the end, what Paul Skenes has going for him is that despite being on the Pirates, he is so good and so well beloved, right? He is such a national star now. He is really one of the faces of Major League Baseball. And you don't say that a lot for guys who are on the Pirates, and that's really special. And I think that's something that they also want to promote their stars. The league wants to promote their stars, and I think that will also be in the minds of some voters, like, who is the bigger star? Who is the guy that every fourth day we're saying, oh, it's Skenes Day. Like, you don't see people saying, oh, it's Zach Wheeler Day. Like, it's Paul Skenes Day. Like,
I'm gonna start Wheeler Day.
Remember whenever it was Rowancy Day? I love that.
Yeah, well, that was more of a local thing.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's a national thing. Like, oh, what you'll hear on MLB Network? Oh, guys, it's Skenes Day. Like, he really has become a national and global superstar, and I think that really does help his case in the end as well. So it's going to be a very interesting race. But one other thing that Skenes has going against him is, and this is maybe something you guys may feel differently about, but they are watching his pitch count, watching his innings now. And I am totally on board with that, because I thought they should have been doing that in the beginning of the season to save him down the line. Obviously, they were trying to, catch up in the standings because they had such a bad start. But now that they're out of it, there's no chance that the Pirates are going to compete. I have no problem with saving him and watching his arm and his innings. I have no problem with that. Maybe some fans do. I don't know. But I have no problem with that. But that could also hurt his, him the other day only going 5 innings. He could have easily went another inning at least. But they decided, you know what, that's enough for today. And I have no problem with that. But that may hurt his Cy Young chances. So there's a lot of factors at play here.
Could they shut him down mid-September?
If he's in the Cy Young race, they wouldn't do that. There would be a media firestorm if that happened. They've had enough of those this year.
Do you think their judgment is well enough to see that? I mean, some of these blunders have been, like, some of these PR blunders have been totally avoidable if you have any awareness at all. And but yeah, that will be interesting to see. I hope they don't, but I think just limiting his innings each start maybe or his pitch count would suffice, but who knows with this organization.
Jake, did you have any thoughts on that or no?
No, I mean, it's. I agree. Like, I think that he has a very much big name now. I guess it just all depends on what the voters think, and
I have no idea what they're thinking. I wanted to hear your thoughts on them, on Donnie and Sherrington watching.
Oh, and then shutting them down. Oh, my fault. Yeah. So, I mean, I don't mind. I don't really have an opinion because I don't think Skenes is someone that I feel will get hurt very much. Even though you'd rather be safe than sorry, especially at this point in the season. But yeah, I don't have too much of an issue. Like, as a baseball fan, maybe I want to see him pitch more innings. But as a logical baseball fan that looks more into just watching games, I'm cool with it. If it's a 0-0 ball game, what are you gonna do? Like, Skenes goes out there, he goes scoreless, and then it's still 0-0. I'm fine with that. Like, I don't have any problem with the idea of Skenes getting limited workload. Just trying to build him for next year, but I love where he's at right now health wise. That's a big reason why I wanted them to draft him over Dylan Cruz. Not that Dylan Cruz was injury prone, but I knew that investing in a guy like Skenes, you knew he would not only work hard, but he's a guy that has no history of injury and has pitched very many innings with LSU in that last season, especially with his pitch count being ridiculously high. He just has that frame where he won't get hurt. So I'm cool with them limiting his frame, but I think they're going to be good with Skenes in health for sure.
Better to be safe than sorry, though. Okay,
yeah.
To wrap up this episode, let's talk about Major League Baseball at the halfway point of the season. A little over that now. I saw something on Twitter. I think they maybe said this to me. They should have the All-Star game and the Home Run Derby exactly at the halfway point, which is always around the 4th of July. They should have the 4th of July weekend as the All-Star festivities. Like, I think that would get a lot more attention with everyone. And yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I mean, that
makes a lot of sense.
I mean, nothing else is going on. You got the Nathan's hot dog eating contest in the. I mean, that's just like a thing. In the early afternoon, you got the whole day. People are out on the grill, and then you come inside at night. You have the All-Star game, where you have the home run.
Well, not only that,
the home run derby.
But look at it this way: you people are saying, oh well, it's a holiday. These guys should celebrate. Like 90% of the MLB will celebrate on the 4th of July because only a small amount make the All-Star game. So, they'll be able to celebrate with their family anyway.
Look at the NFL. The NFL has taken full advantage of holidays.
Yeah.
And they've profited and had a lot of success with that.
Mm-hmm. So even the NBA.
Detroit, every Thanksgiving is a sellout.
Yeah.
Especially now that they're good. So, obviously the NFL is a little different, but that's something that the MLB should think about. Anyway, that came to my mind. Sometimes things just
That was a good point. I think that's something that needed to be said because, I mean, we talked about earlier Rob Manfred and some of the improvements that Major League Baseball has made to its product. I mean, this is something that it's kind of in the rearview mirrors in terms of it's just a one kind of day thing or it's a 1 week thing. But I think it would go a long way in again, improving and increasing the eyeballs. Because what are you doing 4th of July? And I guess you're shooting off fireworks maybe or whatever. But you can watch some fireworks at Truist Park in Atlanta after a great home run derby or All-Star game or something as well. And then you can shoot them off. The game ends at whatever it ends half hour earlier, so you can shoot them off. You have to wait later in the evening anyway. So I think it would be a slam dunk. I think it would be really cool. And it's like a weird. Like mid-July, it's like a weird thing, and then it feels like it's getting later every year too. Like it feels like it's getting like slowly, even though we're starting earlier. It seems like at the end of March, and then there's like 2 weeks, just under 2 weeks until the trade deadline. I think that would go a long way because I think it just enhances everything and kind of spreads everything out better, and I think it would be absolute cinema.
We love absolute cinema. Okay, moving on to what I was actually trying to get to. I want to hear talk about some MLB takeaways as we're at a little bit past the halfway point. I mean, when you look at the standings, I mean, what stands out to you guys? What teams are most intriguing as far as can they make the playoff run? Can they not? Is a team a fraud? Is a team not a fraud? And I'd like to start out first. I want to talk about the New York teams because the Yankees are now out of first place. The Blue Jays, only with a plus 20 run differential, by the way, are in first place. They have just been on fire and have taken advantage they have gotten hot at the right time, taken advantage of the Yankees slump. And they are 2 games ahead of the Yankees in the standings. Do you guys think the Yankees can win the division, or do you think Toronto is gonna win that division? And the Yankees and the Mets both have the same problem, which is the bottom of their orders are and their pitching staff. I mean, especially the Mets, it's just depleted. As with the Mets specifically with injury. So now the Mets have kind of picked up some slack here. Picked up the momentum. They've won some games here lately, but they have been kind of going into a downslide, and it seems like with the Phillies' advantage over the Mets as far as pitching, I think the Phillies have the bigger potential to win that division right now, even though it's very close.
Yeah, honestly, like a team that I was talking to Nate actually before we started was the Blue Jays. It's very cool how they're really doing well, like you said, taking advantage of the Yankees slump. And they're a team that I've always seen as like a poor man's Phillies. They don't spend as much, but they still have that veteran presence throughout their entire team that kind of makes them competitive. And actually, I kind of want to point out, like, say they don't get, like, maybe Jacob deGrom's available at the deadline. I don't know if the Rangers made that clear or not, but say he is, and the Blue Jays can't get him. I could see a scenario where a guy like Mitch Keller gets traded to the Blue Jays, because the Blue Jays pitching staff doesn't have anyone that, like, stands out, at least if you look at ERA. Eric Lauer has been a pleasant surprise. Jose Barrios is obviously good. Chris Bassett and Kevin Gausman will stay as pretty good pitchers. But they still don't have anyone that consistently that can have an under 4 ERA. Like, they don't have many other guys outside Barrios that can do that for them. I think the Charrington or the Blue Jays could use a pitcher like Keller, and Charrington likes trading with the Blue Jays because he used to be in the front office with them before he was a Pirate. So I could see that, but that's a little off topic. But I think that the Blue Jays, they're a very surprising team. I thought that they would be 4th or 5th in the division and be sellers at the deadline. But right now they're using that veteran presence to their advantage. And if you look at their hitting core, they're not a bunch of old guys other than George Springer. I mean, you look at Alejandro Kirk,
they're well balanced.
Reimer Guerrero, 26. Yeah, they're balanced. Like, their pitching staff is really where they have a lot of their older guys at, and they've been pitching at a pretty good level because these, other than Gausman, they don't have guys that are big strikeout guys. They have guys that can pitch a lot of innings that don't get hurt. I remember whenever they got Chris Bassett, and I remember with the Athletics, I'm like, no one's talking about him. Like, he has injury problems, but every single season he pitches under a 4 ERA every single year, and no one talks about him. So the Blue Jays are, in my opinion, the biggest surprise so far this season, and that's just one of my takeaways on the year is how, I thought the Red Sox were going to be a World Series contender. I was obviously wrong. The Blue Jays look much more like that, and they're actually record-wise almost as good as the Tigers, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Blue Jays definitely have been a pleasant surprise. I think everybody had them, 4th or 5th, because they were 5th last season. They had a 74 and 88 or something last year. They just had a down year. And to see, you mentioned that Jake, Eric Lauer, who, Bucco legend actually, if you remember last year, he was in our spring training and he was in the minor leagues with the Pirates for a while. Then he got shipped
I didn't even know that.
He went to Houston for a little while, but he's been great. They called him up. He's been great for them. But yeah, the Blues are always a funny team because I always like how they're built, because especially their rotation, because it's for the past several years. Not only is it's been stable, but you know what you're gonna get. With Barrios, with Gausman, with Bassett, you're gonna get really decent starting outings way more often than not. And Barrios obviously has had the highest potential out of all those guys. I mean, Gausman was a first-round pick, but like the talent of Barrios, I remember early with the Twins, it was like he could be really good. And he's been really solid with the Blue Jays outside of that 1 year where it was kind of a down year. But they're just very consistent. And Max Scherzer, when he's been healthy, has been kind of around that too. It's a very slightly above average, but really workable rotation right now that's really getting the job done. And like you mentioned, they're very balanced. So I think that was a pleasant surprise. And I'm kind of a hater sometimes, and so I like to point out the frauds. And I'm gonna look at in terms of this wild card race in the American League, because I think it's really interesting.
Very interesting. Very mid too.
Like
it is very mid, and I was saying that maybe I was just hating on Cleveland, but I said they would be frauds, and they've kind of had a nice little stretch after their big losing streak, but they've really fallen back. The Mariners, again, when your offense has been an issue for so long, and in the offseason, your biggest additions, your only offensive additions are Donovan Solano and Rowdy Tellez, you're not going to get much better. And actually, I've gone much better just because Cal Raleigh, single-handedly, and Randy Arozarenas had a great couple weeks here. But I think we just saw it in New York. I just think on the road, I just don't think if their pitching doesn't carry, I don't think they are viable again. And they have no one else to blame but themselves. I mean, talk about Eugenio Suarez, just a career year. They had Eugenio Suarez 2 years ago, and he didn't have a good year for them, obviously, when he was there. But they traded him, and he's been much better with Arizona. So maybe it was just not a fit, but who knows. But they don't have anybody else to blame but themselves for their lack of offense. And so I think in the end, I said this after the Devers trade. I said the Red Sox, I think, still make the playoffs. I think they do. They've had a nice run this past week as well. Granted, against Washington and the Rockies, but their offenses look really good. Nobody questions their offensive depth, and that could be something where their pitching may be a little bit of a concern. There's been talks of maybe even Jaron Duran or Rafael or somebody trading one of these guys to get a pitcher.
Willie Abreu of the Pirates, please.
Willie Abreu, yeah, that would be very nice. So, I think they are a team. I think they are going to make the playoffs in the end. I think there may be 4 teams from the AL East. The Rangers have since May 31st. I saw they're averaging 5 runs a game now. So their offense has been better. They've been torching the Angels in this series. And
they split they split the series, but they did.
I know,
score
but
a lot of runs.
I mean, I'm saying offensively, they scored a
Right.
bunch of runs. They've been torching their pitching staff, but I don't think they're done. I thought going into the year, shows how little we kind of know. I thought going into the year, their pitching would be an issue. Their bullpen, I thought their bullpen would be a disaster. Just look at the guys that they have. I just didn't think it would be that good, but it's actually held up pretty well, and their rotation's been elite, and that's why. And their offense has actually been the big issue. But if they can get some offense, they are a very scary team in the American League. And real quick, as for the National League, I think the Phillies might be running away with this division a little bit. I mean, this Mets run here is troubling their rotation. Now, congrats to David Peterson. I was kind of hating on him yesterday because he made the All-Star team. I thought he had like a 4 ERA, but he had a good start yesterday, and he's actually done pretty decent. But they just had so many injuries, and this offense just has not been consistent really all year. It's just they've had elite pitching until this point. I think they got to be a little worried about where they stand, even though they're still 1.5 games out of the division or a 1 game out or something. So, and the Braves are like done now. I said a couple weeks ago or
They've
3
had
weeks
too
ago,
many
I think they
injuries to
still had
their
a
pitching.
chance. And their offense, everybody's way underperforming. Ozzie Albies had a terrible. Michael Harris like the worst qualified hitter in baseball, and Marcell Ozuna, everybody's like a little bit down, other than Olsen and Acuna, from where they've been in their careers. So, just been tough for the Braves in the NL East. But other than that, I think the Giants need to add another offensive piece. They're actually like under 500 with Rafael Devers. They've been playing worse, so I think they could use another offensive piece. And we'll see what the Padres are kind of mediocre right now as well. So it'll be interesting to see who gets those last wild cards. I think, and another one to close out. I think the Brewers do win. They're right there. I think they're 1.5 or a half game out of first now in the NL Central. They always find a way, man. But now this year, I think you look at their rotation now. Woodruff is back. That's one of the better ones in baseball, I think. Now they go 4 deep, and it's like really good, like 4 really good starters. So, and Quintana's been excellent. So, I think the Cubs got to keep up this elite offensive performance because the Brewers have better overall pitching. And they get every last ounce out of some of these guys. Bless you, Jake. Some of these guys like Sal Frelick and Caleb Durbin and Isaac Collins. Some of these guys who they just kind of come out of nowhere and they all perform. That's the difference between a franchise like the Brewers and the Pirates. They bring guys up and they all perform pretty decently. The Pirates bring up these guys and literally no one hits. So that will be very interesting. I think that division race down the wire, because I think it's those 2 teams. I think the Cardinals we've seen them kind of fading, although I still think, they've done a much better job than I thought, and I think the Reds will get a little better, but I think they're kind of a wild card contender potentially. So
yeah, I could see the Mets. I said they wouldn't make the playoffs, and I was like, the last episode or a couple episodes ago, I was praising them like, wow, their rotation. It just keeps overperforming. Like, I have to believe now. But now with all these injuries, I could see the Mets falling off and maybe missing the playoffs. But I feel like they do have too much star power on that offense, similar to the Yankees in a way. But once again, the NL is very top heavy, with a couple teams fighting for those last couple wild card spots. I do agree. I think St. Louis will fall off, but credit to them for continuing to compete every year. Cincinnati's in there. Arizona, they just have too many injuries as well to their pitching. I mean, a lot of these teams, we keep saying, like, the main issue is they have too many injuries to their pitching. And that's what's keeping them from contending. Or from, making the playoffs, whatever. I do think the Giants, I just love what Buster Posey, I love that Buster Posey's their GM, and I love that he's aggressive. I think I could honestly see them and the Padres making it, and the Mets missing the playoffs. Like, that would be crazy, but I could see that happening. And I agree, the Brewers are just such a well-oiled machine. I still think the Cubs win that division, but Pat Murphy, the guys they keep bringing up, like Caleb Durbin, like, he's one of my guys. Like, it's very impressive. But as far as the AL wild card goes, yeah, like it's. I don't think I'm still not buying into the Red Sox. They have been on a heater lately, and they are currently a game ahead of the Mariners, for that third wild card spot. But like those last two spots, are up for grabs. I think the Rays, though. I think the Rays they've been struggling lately, but I think they're pitching. I'm a believer in the Rays now. I think they're pitching. And their offense has been surprising. I think that's been the key. Their offense has been surprisingly better than I think anyone anticipated. The Red Sox, with the whole Devers situation, now they're finding their groove. But there's a lot of young players in that lineup, and I don't know if they're going to be able to consistently produce. And outside of Garrett Crochet, I don't trust their starting rotation. So I think the Red Sox don't make it. I think the Rays make it, but I think for that last spot, it's going to be between the Red Sox, the Mariners. I think the Mariners, it's win now or don't, because this is the second year in a row now. It's like, you have the team to do it. You should be doing it. And they've, once again, kind of underachieved. They just, like the Pirates, they just can't figure out offense. Similarly, the Royals, they have great pitching, can't figure out the offense. But I think both of those teams all three of those teams are going to be in the mix. But I like Seattle and Kansas City probably a little more. But here's the two dark horse teams because I think Boston, Seattle, and Kansas City both have consistent issues. And I think Texas and Baltimore could really, really, really make a run at things. Texas has a plus 40 run differential. Their offense is, they have the guys there, and like you said, Nate, they have been better, and they have the pitching rotation. Like, they should get on a heater here pretty soon. Like, I feel like they're bound for that to happen. And Baltimore, they keep slowly creeping up. They're 42-50 now. They're about to surpass the Guardians. And I think they have so much offensive talent as well. But again, similarly, they have, like Boston, Seattle, and Kansas City, they have a big issue, which is the pitching. Boston, Seattle, Kansas City have their own issue. Seattle and Kansas City, it's the hitting. Boston, I think it's a little bit of both. Baltimore, it's the pitching. Whereas Texas, I look at Texas, I'm like, damn, like I look at that team and I think they should be better. Like, I would not be surprised if they took one of those two spots. So I'm really looking at Texas. And even though Baltimore has a pitching issue, the way they've been playing lately, I wouldn't be shocked with how everyone else is so mid. I wouldn't be shocked if they made a late run at things. Jake Bell, do you have anything else to add before we wrap up this episode?
I don't think so. I think you guys touched it on. And it's kind of weird because it feels like, I don't know if it's just me, but it feels like this season there hasn't been many crazy offensive numbers, except like Aaron Judge is like having one of the best offensive seasons ever. But like offensively, it feels like it's a down year for that. So just because so many guys are having like the worst seasons of their career, and it's like, what's going on? So who knows? But just interesting to point out because we're talking about offenses that haven't been doing so well. But I mean, it's been the case for years, so it's not just because this year happens to be that way. So
all right, well, thank you all so much for watching. We'll be back next week after the All-Star game and after Oneil Cruz loses in the first round of the home run derby.
No.
I'm just being a hater. But and we'll see you all next time. Thank you so much.
Make sure to like
Let's
and
go
subscribe.
Bucks.
Follow us on social media.
Okay.
And thank you all.
Nate. Thank you.